good evening, or good afternoon, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final day of the Brundle Grid Preview. I am RSF1 Michael, also known as Brundle, and yep, we are finally here at F4, and have we saved the best for last? Potentially. Of course, I would say that, considering this used to be the tier I commentated on, and a lot of these drivers have remained, so I'm anticipating a pretty entertaining season from F4. Yeah, very interesting tier. Obviously, the ones that won the season, the likes of Prost, Eagle, Duffalump, Monster Skyline, Toxic CW are no more. So this opens this up massively in F4 for somebody to take the reins and push on through. Who can that be is going to be the question going forward. But let us begin. So let's start off, again, mixing things up a bit. We'll go at Williams first. And we start off with first driver called Wadders. Now Wadders, I believe, is having his first full season, if I'm correct. I do not remember him being in others. I'm just going to check. No. So yeah, he's doing his first full season in RSF1. Has been in a few races, I believe, here and there. So a little bit of a dark horse potentially. I'm on completely the wrong screen. I normally do this. Hang on a minute. There we go, that's better. Right, so as I was saying, yeah, so Wadders doing his first full season, and as I've said, with anybody new starting in RSF1 and league racing, you need to have a good, solid start. Can potentially do that. I've seen the promise of his races, so yeah, Wadders could be looking pretty good this season. His teammate is Jamie24. Now, Jamie24 was in the F4 Championship a couple times. No, he was in F5, sorry. He was in F5 last season. And even though he scored 94 points, he definitely showed the pace that he needed to challenge in the F4 division. Yeah, a very, very strong qualifier. Was qualifying with really good pace last season in F5, but obviously the thing that obviously needs to work on, obviously stepping up a little bit, is his race pace. Needs to have good race results week in, week out. Can he potentially sort that out? I believe he could. I think both drivers in Williams this season are going to have good solid points. Could they challenge the front? Maybe, but we'll see what happens with them. Next up, we go to the Haus F1 team, and we start off with a driver that last season showed that he could be one to watch this season. That is Toxic MW. Obviously, his clan member, or friend, if you will, Toxic CW, has made the jump into F3 and has started off respectively well in his first race. So the question is, what can MW do in F4? I pretty think big things for this guy, because F4 last season finished up with 147 points, and that's despite, I think his first race was Silverstone, or the one before that. So that is pretty impressive considering. And yeah, for at the back end of the season, got a couple of wins under his belt as well. Looked very good. He was also in a Ferrari last time. And I've looked at the wrong guy again. I keep getting confused between the two. 86 points for MW, but yeah, a couple of wins were behind his belt in the Ferrari. Similar car as well, the Haas. So yeah, he could be looking quite good. His teammate is a returning RS Checo, or used to be called Zombie Head. So welcome back, Checo, for a start. And yeah, he's taken a bit of a hiatus, or break. Break's probably the better word, from the league. So he's back in once again for another season in RSF1. Does he still have the motivation and the pace? Well, remains to be seen, obviously. We will see, obviously, from Australia in the first few weeks of the season. But yeah, it's good to see Checo back. I've definitely missed him. That is the Haus F1 team. Alfa Romeo next, and we start off with Tyg Rogue, or TSRC Rogue, I believe it used to be. Of course, it's changed its gamer tag a little bit. And Rogue is another one, stepped up from F5, 112 points in the Williams last season, again making that step up. Had showed the pace definitely to keep in amongst these guys in F4. Might find it a little bit of a challenge to be consistently up there, because F4 is obviously a little bit more faster, a little more consistent, but definitely think he can. The upward trajectory, the improvement of Rogue is getting there, so I think he'll be looking pretty good. And he's got a teammate who is a promising teammate as well, called Barry TRC, who used to be Barry 23. Started off really strongly, Barry did. Did a couple of races in an Alfitari, then unfortunately had to take a break for reasons. Came back in a Ferrari and showed that basically he hadn't really lost anything in terms of league racing credentials. So hopefully this season he can do the whole season. I'm pretty much hoping that he does, because he's another kind guy to talk to and be around. Yeah, I hope he does well this season. I think he's, as I said, I think he first or second race he came back in the Ferrari, I think it was Belgium, was on course for a race victory. But unfortunately, I think he had a spin like 5 laps to the end and unfortunately lost that victory. Yeah, he'll be looking forward to a first proper season coming back. Next up is the Racing Point team, and we start off with somebody who I've known from about a year or so ago and is now joined RSF1. A very, very good driver, very raceable driver, so knows when to give the space, which most of us do. Some obviously leave less than a car's width than others. Not pointing out names, but of course I'm talking about Alco Saints. So Alco Saints joined us in F4 last season, and McLaren, 33 points for him. Didn't do a full season, so of course we didn't see the full potential of him, so he started in Australia for the very first time. Could be one to watch. I reckon he's going to put off some pretty good maneuvers, some pretty good overtakes during the races in F4. Yeah, definitely one to watch. And his teammate is one to watch as well, XRL Cornish. Cornish, again, doing his first full season, so obviously the only thing with both of these drivers is obviously we haven't seen what they can do consistently week in, week out. So Cornish, obviously I know Cornish now most recently because of the endurance races he does with me in Forza. So another driver that I know the capabilities of. In terms of F1 stuff, yeah, I think he's going to be pretty motivated, and I think he could be, I think a couple of wins for Cornish possibly, if not podiums, I would say. But yeah, definitely an exciting one. Alfitari next, and we start off with Charismic. Charismic had 54 points in the Haas, and I think Charismic had an unfortunate season, I think, because qualifying was here and there, races were here and there as well. Never seemed to recover from a difficult qualifying, so, and that's not his fault, I don't think. It's for wrong place, wrong time. Again, one of those that had that type of season, which, as I mentioned before, you can have from time to time. Completely different car, so this could be a breath of fresh air for Charismic if you didn't particularly like the car, because that could be something to do with it. Yeah, another driver, exciting to watch. Could be his season. I definitely think he'll have a stronger season than last one. 54 points, I don't think was justified. Meaning it, I reckon it should have been better, but he is partnered up with UK Demons, and UK Demons only had a few races with us I believe, in the Red Bull. 16 points for him. Again, didn't tell the full entire story, of course. But yeah, he's obviously another driver that has got a similar car, same engine, so same kind of characteristics with the Alfitari. So what can he do this season? I think definitely more improvement is there. I definitely think the potential is there for UK Demons. So yeah, these two in the Alfitari could be up near the front. Next up, we have a very interesting partnership at Renault. Two brand new drivers from F5 coming into F4. So of course they've got to make the step up, as we always say about anybody that goes up into the higher division. They've got to find something else. But these two were the top two in F5, the champion and the runner-up. Rivals as well. So this is a very feisty, interesting team, I think this is. But we start off with the first driver, which is Jessie Racer, our second female in the league, obviously after Sink Saiju, or Anna Saiju is now. Jessie Racer got very unlucky with the season last time out in her battle against Scotsman, who is her teammate this time in Renault. Obviously, we'll get to him, but Jessie, I think she definitely had the capabilities of winning the championship. It's fair to say also that she didn't do the full season, whereas Scotsman did. So one could say if she did the full season, maybe she could have won it. But she is definitely fired up for F4. Will be keen to get one over on her teammate Scotsman. And this is where potentially, because these two are going to be quick, I reckon, Jessie and Scotsman. Obviously, Scotsman being the champion, of course, from F5, 339 points, which is a very, very nice total over a course of a season. Several wins, loads of podiums behind there as well. So definitely deserved to be in F4 this season. Obviously, the chemistry might be a concern between these two, because these two are fierce rivals. They're going to put that to one side, because I reckon they got a big, big chance at Renault in F5 this season. F4 this season, sorry, to definitely do something. I definitely think results are going to come with these two. But again, hope they can work together. Yeah, I'm thinking a top 10 for both of them is an easy possibility. Next up, McLaren is next, and we start off with Caesar Wizard. Caesar Wizard, where were you in F4? I think you did a few races in F4 last season, if I remember rightly. But first full season in RSF1 completely. I think you were a reserve driver. So yeah, obviously an unknown for Caesar Wizard going forward. I think of the races that I did see him was pretty good, so I'm excited to see what this guy can do in the McLaren. And he's partnered up with a pretty respectable driver of Fish Sticks in the McLaren with him. Now, Fish Sticks had a very, very good start to last season. Won in Australia, if I remember rightly, and got a solid result in Bahrain the week later. But that, unfortunately, was the best it got to. The rails just came off of Fish Sticks, and that's not trying to bring you down, Fish Sticks. Obviously, it was very sad to see. But yeah, obviously picked himself up for the second half of the season. Got another few results back, a couple of podiums. But yeah, for some reason or another, it didn't work out. This time, I think he's very much motivated to change that round, and I think he can. I do think he can. I think he'll have a very competent season as Fish Sticks. So obviously, with Caesar Wizard having his first full season, having a guy like Fish Sticks that now knows what F4 is about is going to push this team forward for McLaren. So good pairing there. At Red Bull, we have another interesting pairing similar to Renault. These two know each other because they were teammates last season in F4 in Mercedes, and they find themselves in another front-running team, if you like, of Red Bull. And that is Graded Vinny and Fordy. They are very, very happy they've got each other again. These two have great chemistry, and when they were on it, they were very, very good in F4 last season. We start off with Vinny first, 112 points last time out. And those included a couple of third places, I believe, and seconds in there. I don't think there was a win, but there were good solid points. Always seemed to end up in the top 10, apart from the odd race. So race pace seems to be there, seems to stay out of trouble as well. So is one of those drivers that is going to be very wise in race situations. His teammate 40 had a little bit less of a season, 63 points. So with 40, consistency was a little bit less, but obviously having gone through a season that was a little bit difficult, this is obviously can only get better, I guess, because now 40 knows all the caliber of drivers in F4. There's a lot of drivers that he still knows that have remained in this tier, so yeah, that can only be a positive. These two, again, I think the chemistry is going to work wonders for these two, and that could potentially push them for a championship run in the constructors. As for drivers, yeah, they could both be out there as well, so let's see what they can do. Ferrari is next, and Ferrari have got a pretty strong pairing, I think, with these two. But we start off with RSF1 Button. Button had a very competitive season on 118 points in a Ferrari, not a Ferrari, McLaren last time. So has to adjust a little bit to this fiery car. But yeah, I think Button is a very competent driver. Turns up every week. Qualifying, obviously, if he wants to make that step up to challenge for the title, qualifying, I think, was the thing that went down. I mean, he was in Q3, but I don't remember. Might have been Monaco where he got a front row, but apart from that, I can't remember. And that's obviously the only thing missing if he wants to challenge for the title. Of course, as I mentioned at the start of this, with Prost, Eagle, Duffalon, Toxic, and Skyline going up, opens it up massively in this tier. So those that were behind the top 4 or 5, which included Button, they ended up in 7th place. This could open it up massively for him. It's a space that needs to be filled, and Button be filling it. His teammate could be filling it as well. Kazi Babes in the Haus had a very similar to his teammate or former teammate Charismic in the Haus. Very, very unfortunate season, I think. The luck just didn't seem to go his way, even though he was always there and thereabouts. In terms of, you know, get to the second half of the race and he'd be up in contention for a good result. But yeah, for some reason it just didn't work out for him. This could be better. Obviously, he's hoping he's shaking all that off and have a good solid season. Could potentially go for in the Ferrari. He's got a good teammate in Button. That will help him as well. So Kazi hoping for a better, more consistent season. And finally, the last team that we're going to do is back at Mercedes, and we finally arrive at the team principal of Mercedes, and that is Old Manzi. Old Manzi had a pretty respectable season of 86 points in the Renault. Obviously has to, as I said before, with other drivers that have changed car engines and so on and so forth, has to adjust a little bit. But he's now obviously a principal. I don't believe he was one last. No, because he was in Renault and that was Shane. So obviously taking on that role of principal, which means you got to lead your team by example. And obviously the rumor is that he is taking on that role, at least on the outside, you know, managing people very well. On the track, could be good. Could be good for Old Manzi. He's another one of those that always sticks around, never kind of gives up on a result. You very rarely see him retire unless obviously he's in a crash or anything else like that. Never manually retires, or I very rarely see him do it. Highlight of the season last time, I believe, was in Vietnam, where he got a pretty respectable 3rd place. I think there was another podium there as well. I do think this season Old Manzi can get a race win somewhere. Do think it's possible. Which I would believe it be his first. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, could be doing pretty well. His teammate, Primus Gaming, who finished, obviously, as I repeated twice, and I'm going to repeat again, the front 5 from last season are all gone. Take those out, and the leader, or the winner, would have been Primus Gaming on 122 points. Very close ahead of him, ahead of Button, Vinny, and Old Manzi and Cooper Benz. So Primus effectively got the best of the rest. Now Primus, of course, we know as a very popular character in RSF1 community. Yeah, is a never give up kind of guy. Very good, very nice to be around. In terms of his racing last season, oh god, the luck in I think it was 3-4 races in a row that he got was horrible. I think he had a wheel glitch in Baku that made him mean he had to retire. There was another in Canada, I believe, all around that area, and it really seemed to hit his season because it was a while until he got consistent points back again. This time out, I'm thinking, almost hoping as well that the luck comes back to him. Believe it can, and I believe race wins will come back to Primus, because I don't think he won last season. I think his last win was in season 2. But yeah, I think that's going to come back once again for Primus. So all in all, this team at Mercedes could be pretty good to watch. And that is your Tier 4 driver list. There we go. So yeah, as I said, this is going to be fascinating to watch because a lot are the drivers from last season. Who is going to take the reins? Who is going to get the results that? I think all those from F5, Jesse, Scotsman, Rogue, Jamie, who was the other one? There was another one as well. I think that's it actually. All those that have come up from F5, I think they will do bits in F4 as well, which is going to make it even more competitive. So yeah, it's going to be great to watch. I'm unfortunately not commentating in F4 this season, and I'm going to miss it because it was great. Fantastic season to have, and I do reckon it's going to continue. The 2 commentators for F4 this season is the debuting broadcaster, if you like, streamer, Toxic CW. Did a great job last season in his filling in role last season on a couple of days. So I'm sure he will do a very admirable job. As I said, he's streaming for the first time. And he is partnered with RSF1 Eastern, of course, our F1 champion from last season, and remains to be F1 driver. And in terms of commentating, I think that's going to be a good partnership between the two. So yeah, they're going to be, as I said, I'm jealous because they're going to have a great season ahead of them. Of course, I'll be watching, as many others will be doing. Of course, the season. Of course, they start off in Australia like we have done this week, 8 o'clock tonight. As for my prediction, and this is terribly hard to call, ridiculously, in terms of drivers and constructors who I believe are going to win it. Again, the bias is shown a little bit with the Red Bull team, but obviously we'll get to those. But we start off with the drivers, and actually we start off with a Red Bull driver. In fact, I put both Red Bull drivers 5th and 4th of Fordy and Vinny. For some reason or another, again, between the two, it's not because I like more than one another. I've put Vinny, Fordy 5th and Vinny 4th. Yeah, I do think these two, in terms of the Drivers' Championship, I think both, they know F4, obviously, from last season. They know the caliber of drivers, once again, that they're going to be racing with. And I do think they're going to be at the front this season. They're going to get solid points. Obviously, they will need the wins to back that up as well. I do think they're capable of doing. But let's see what they can do. I put Vinny 4th and Fordy 5th. Third place, I've put the Mercedes driver of Primus Gaming. could be a slightly, what's the word? Educated guess kind of choice, because obviously he finished best of the rest behind those that aren't in the division anymore. So again, he could be one of the front runners. I do think he can, and I think third place he'll be very, very happy with. I reckon he'll be close to who I believe will be eventual champion. And I also think more than one win, I think, for Primus this season. Now, I believe he has the capability of doing so. Second, I've put the Renault of Jesse Racer. Because, as I mentioned before, when we went over her season last time out, lost out to Scotsman in very unfortunate circumstances, as I mentioned. She'll be even more fired up to have a good season this time out. Obviously, her first full season as well. So again, and she's quick as well. There's a definite pace behind her. Obviously, she's got to get used to F4. There's different drivers to race against. But yeah, definitely a good potential season for Jesse Racer ahead. But the winner, I believe, is going to be... Where are they? The Haas driver of Toxic MW. And simply because, obviously, had half a season with us last time out in F4, around about Silverstone, as I mentioned. And in that time, he got a couple of wins. And yeah, it's very, very pacey in this tier. Obviously, the question will be, I think if he's in and around the fight after about 6 races, once he's found his feet in F4, because obviously the first 5-6 races, we don't know what he's like at them. They could be great for him, they could be terrible for him. But I reckon if he's in and around the title fight there, I think he'll just about edge it. Obviously, we will see whether that happens. As before, this is just an opinion, so anybody that's not in that top 5 or you want to be higher or so on and so forth, it's just my thought. Don't take it to heart. I have little knowledge on this. It's just what I decided at the time. In terms of the constructors, even more tricky to call because every team, I think, has the capability of being top 5. Every team has the capability of being near the top as well. It's just obviously I've rated up everything and this is what I've gone with. And third place, I'm going to go with the Williams team of Wadders and Jamie24. Obviously Wadders, obviously he's got to find his feet quickly in F4 to potentially have a good strong season, but he's got a good teammate in Jamie24 as a teammate. Of course, we've seen what Jamie is capable of. He will push that team forward, and obviously his knowledge and obviously in the setups and so on and so forth and his guidance will also make Waters even better. So I think a solid third place for the Williams team in F4. Second, I've put the Red Bull team of Vinny and Fordy. As I mentioned before, the chemistry between these two I reckon could push them even better towards the title. They did pretty well at Mercedes last season. I think they were 3rd or 4th overall, behind obviously the Alphas and the Racing Point. I think Williams just pipped them last season. Obviously the Alphas and the Racing Points they couldn't really do anything about because they had drivers that were winning races and were always there in the top end of Q3. But they picked up points. They picked up ones consistently, did these two, Fordy and Vinny. And I think these two, they can continue that. They can have a good season. And second place, I think they'll be quite happy with. But the eventual winner, I'm going to go with Renault. Because these two, Jesse and Scotsman, are highly, highly competitive. We saw that last season in F5. Of course, they got to find their feet. Of course, they got to make the step up to F4. And it could be quite difficult. But I believe they have the motivation. They practice hours and hours on their setups and their race. So I think if they can work together, that's the only thing that is slightly... because they are rivals, or they were heated rivals last season. I reckon these two, if they put their differences aside, they have the potential of winning the constructors. They both want to win the drivers, that's for sure. But if they can work together, I think teams is there. And that's it. There's tier 4. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed all these previews this week. Again, I tried at the best of my knowledge to give a little insight as to what I expect from this season. Yeah, and it's been good so far this week in Australia. Obviously, we have one more race to go, and of course tonight, the F4 division at 8 o'clock. Make sure you join us with Toxic CW in the box, streaming for the first time, with Easton as co-com. And obviously I'll be in the chat watching as well, and also keep an eye on you naughty people sometimes. Yeah, hopefully you enjoy that tonight. Tomorrow is going to be a brand new thing. We're bringing back a podcast. For those that haven't seen the announcement, hopefully you have. Yeah, we're bringing back a podcast. Host is going to be myself, and I'll be joined by Monster Skyline and RSF1 Hippo on occasions, whichever ones is available. And basically our task is basically giving a recap of all the races. The results, obviously our opinions on the racing, and obviously there's been some talking points already. Any gossip that obviously we are allowed to say, because some things obviously aren't we allowed to say. Any real life stuff, if anything has happened. I don't think we can really talk about any real life stuff tomorrow, because season hasn't started yet, although we could talk about Lewis Hamilton's contract thing, but hey ho. And we might have a couple of interviews from drivers or team principals. I'm yet to decide who we kind of interview to begin with, to be honest, but we'll get to that. That will be at 7:30 tomorrow for those that would want to watch it, and that'll be every week recapping the races of this RSF1 season. And yeah, hopefully you can join us for that. So that's all I need to say, basically. Thank you very much for watching. I've been RSF1 Brundle, also known as Michael, or the other way around. Please take care, and we'll see you tonight. Take care, and see you then.